So. See. That's you're funny. Yes. I love the twist. It's good though. It's good. A plethora. Yes, yes, 70%. Yes, yes. Hallelujah. And what's the sales staff doing to support the customer retention when all they're doing is being product specialists and whining anymore? I don't know, man. That's why you guys aren't going to have jobs soon, because you guys are absolutely retarded. Because you don't have coaches, actually. I apologize. Our whole system is the whole automotive industry. So, yeah, there you go. That's a good question. Yeah, okay. All right, Shawn. I have the thing that was in case you want. Do you want me to stop the recording so you don't have to go all the way? I'll pause it.
Hear from.
Right.
Hold on, guys.
Too bright.
Okay.
Too bright.
Okay. Hello and welcome to our Who's Happening in Automotive podcast today. I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my co-host is Car Motivator's own Mr. Fantastic, Coach Reid Richards. Hi, Reid. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, you know, so much of a dealer's biz comes through the BDC. Gets so beat. I'm doing it again, guys. All right, I'm just going to read it right through. I'm not going to. Yeah, this is the first time I've had a co-host ever. Here we go.
That's what I'm saying. So me being a co-host, should I be like?
Here we go. Hello and welcome to our Who's Happening in Automotive podcast. Today, I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my co-host is Car Motivator's own Mr. Fantastic, Coach Reid Richards. Now, so much of a dealer's biz comes through the BDC, yet so few BDCs are what we would consider operating in optimum fashion. Say that 5 times without joking. Our guest is an elite BDC coach at BDC Alchemy. His name is Shawn Amorer. Welcome to the podcast, Shawn.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Reid. Big fan of you guys, man. Reid is super fire, so let's do this.
Well, let's get right into it. Now, when you get hired and walk into a dealership for the first time, what does your checklist look like, and what do you assess at the get-go?
That's a fantastic question. So the checklist, actually, I like to get really granular and surgical. There's actually 2 checklists. There's the one that the BDC manager has to be ready for, but there's also the BDC agent that's also bringing something to the table that should have his own checklist. So let's start with the BDC agent really, really quickly. It would be imperative, first of all, to study the website and know what the dealership is about. What's the mission statement? What's the vision? What are the values? Why even do business with this place? I mean, all of these things, regardless if you're new as of day one, you still need to weaponize yourselves with some kind of a rebuttals of your own, right? Like, you're going to learn the culture, you're going to learn the language internally of the ecosystem you're walking into, but it's absolutely imperative to at least have some kind of a beacon or some kind of a direction and understanding of exactly what you're walking into, or it's just another job. And if it's just another job, well, then the BDC manager or the BDC director has completely failed at the interview process. So when we're flipping it on the other side of the fence with a BDC manager or BDC director, it's so interesting as a question. I've never been asked that, but it's basically the precipice of everything, right? So the entire first week must be ironed out. I personally, when I'm working with my dealer groups or my clients, I literally provide them with a checklist, because all too often when I'm doing my discovery call, I start at the root. I start at the fundamentals, at the foundation. Like, hey guys, what does your onboarding look like? Right. And I don't want to call out anybody, obviously, because I like to protect my people. But 80 to 85% of the time, they're like, well, we don't have one. Okay, well, if you plan to fail, you're failing to plan. I mean, that's where it starts from. Like, the guy or the girl are not even here, and you don't even know. Oh, let's oftentimes, how many times do we just like kind of set up their email while they're sitting in the seat? All too often, I've even seen new hires starting, and the desks are not even clean, or the name or the other person's books are still even in the damn desk, right? So that just comes with experience. But over on the BDC manager side, it's really critically important to actually break down that first week, and more importantly, to look organized. What I have done with my dealer groups is I provide them legitimately with a checklist, a paper checklist that you provide to the new hire, so that they can actually also follow and see what's expected of them. What's my day one going to look like? Well, first you're going to do the signing of the documents. Then we're going to walk you around the dealership, et cetera, et cetera. It really has to be surface level, and it really has to be articulated and structured out.
Here's a very general question, because there's probably so many answers, but where do most dealerships drop the ball in their BDCs?
I'm going to answer that. That's a two answer question. First things first, the ball is being dropped, if we want to call it, because listen, I've been a BDC manager. I was under the rooftop for 20 years before starting my own practice. All right. So
Hallelujah.
I'm speaking from experience.
That's why you're here.
Like, I didn't just decide like, hey, BDC is the next fashionable thing, let me just start some kind of a consulting firm and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. Like, nah, man, this is blood, sweat, and tears, literally, over the last 21 years. So that's actually a two-step question, because all too often I know we protect our BDC managers, and we're always harping on the GSMs or the dealer principle, why BDCs don't fail. Yeah, but you know what? There's an accountability from the BDC manager that they also have to step up and take responsibility. So one of the things that we fail at from a BDC manager standpoint, but again, their only reason why they're failing is from a lack of training. I never really met one yet that wakes up in the morning and says, hey, listen, how can I screw up the day today, right? So typically speaking, your BDC manager fails because they're asking the wrong questions, right? I know I'm over here in Canada. We're big on hockey. I'm not sure. You guys must have heard of Wayne Gretzky, probably arguably one of the greatest players to ever live. He's Canadian. Yes.
He lives in my neighborhood.
Now he does. He does.
Yeah, he's right here.
Took him from us, right? But
2 miles from my house.
But he is absolutely right. So all that just to say, Wayne Gretzky, arguably the best player that ever lived, but arguably the worst coach that ever lived at the same time. So that same principle, because I'm a really big sports guy, that same principle applies to, for some reason, the automotive industry. We just think that it's the heavy hitters that are going to come in and are going to be the be all and do all of all things. However, the BDC manager, if you're building a culture based around continuous improvement and not just racing towards the next profit, if you're building it correctly, you need to align your questions within the hiring process with regards to, okay, take for example, okay, Kelly, I'm doing an interview with Kelly. Kelly, what problem or what solution is Kelly going to bring to my team? It's obviously going to be very different than, Reid that is bringing to my team. So you have to have two responsibilities as a BDC manager when you're hiring. Number one, I am responsible for the person I am bringing on board and setting a realistic expectation. Number two, I have the responsibility of the active team members to hire a person that's going to gel into the team and not be the black sheep. With regards to the actual dealer, I'm just going to go right off and say it. There's 4 main reasons why a BDC fails. And Reid, please back me up. I mean, you have a wealth of information, and I'm a super fan. Like
I'm looking forward to your answers.
Dude, you're really the first BDC guy that I've ever looked up to years and years ago, and I still do.
Well, Shawn, he is a co-host. I'm waiting for him to do some co-hosting.
I'm looking forward to this situation.
He might just
He's
jump in
just
at any
waiting to
moment,
club
fella.
me. He's just waiting to club
I
me.
like listening to Shawn because Shawn looks at it a different approach, and if I'm talking, I can't hear him.
There you go. See,
I like listening to Shawn, or I wouldn't have invited him here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Because I think that what he has to say is important, and I think there's a missing element in my own coaching and consulting that Shawn applies that I don't, and sees it from a different angle. Myself, and I don't believe that you can change the words and change the meaning, where Shawn thinks that you can change the words, and he has a different style than I do. But at the same time, in the principle of it, it matters about the relationship more than the task.
Boom.
And being and setting the expectation for that new hire that they're not going to come into this unorganized situation where the bed's not made.
Boom.
And that's a whole nother problem on top of the fact that I have to train them on how to use scripts, follow the scripts, follow a workflow process, follow the priority call. That's just the beginning.
Yeah. That's a whole other show. That's a whole other show.
I appreciate his enthusiasm, and so that's why I'm not talking. So go ahead.
Okay, you came in with a pinch hit home run right there, baby.
So listen, basically the four main reasons, and I've been saying this for 2 years. So the consistency is there. I've seen it over and over again. I've built about 11 BDCs in my career. Largest one was 33 agents, smallest one 3, and everything in between. So, I've tested a lot of stuff, and I've failed a lot of times to understand what I'm saying. So the four main reasons, there are others, but the four main reasons why BDCs fail, very simple, in order. Number one, when the dealer principal or the owner is not behind it. The BDC cannot just exist. It can't just be this mystical department off in the storage room next to the work orders with 32 boxes surrounded by me. And every time I wake up to turn around, I hit the mop. Like, no, these are not ideal working conditions. So when the owner is not behind it, and that can mean a number of things, but again, not to be cynical, but at the end of the day, they're the ones flipping, they're the ones paying for this thing. So we'll get into the whole, defining it, planning it, etc. So number one, when the owner is not behind it. Number two, most importantly, when there is friction between the departments the BDC serves.
I agree.
If the BDC is doing internet sales and you're into and the sales managers, just get them in, the old adage of just get them in, and then we get them in and they're not in market shoppers or they're not ready to pull the trigger. And
the Glengarry leads.
The Glengarry leads, coffees for closers, right? So the Glengarry leads, when they come in, now all of a sudden we're shit because we didn't do a good job. But dude, I just did what you told me to do. I brought them in. Yeah, but why didn't you? Anyway, etc. So when there's friction between departments, the BDC will absolutely fail. The third, when it becomes something that it is not. Now, without going off on a tangent, what I mean by that is it's extremely important if you're going to restructure your BDC or if you're going to build one from scratch, the four major elements that I follow, or the BDC alchemy, or other people too, but I really follow these. You have to define it first. What do you want this thing to be? Do you want it to be all things to all people? Fine. Well, then stay that course. But for me, the core purpose of a BDC is simply to provide a consistent flow of traffic to the service and sales flow. It is not, for me anyway, it is not a private sale group, because it requires, and not that they can't be, but it requires a different approach. It requires, like, Reid could bang out any script. He's completely versatile.
Yeah, but I'm with you, Shawn, though. I believe that the message is delivered it at an emotional level. They need to come in and drive the vehicle before they're going to purchase it. 100%. The interrupt is to change the sales call or the sales mentality into an appointment mentality, because if you drive it and you don't like it, you're not going to buy it anyway. So why waste anybody's time going over all this other information when there's no purpose to it? Let us be the professional and direct the situation, right?
100%, which is why, and Reid, I'm just going to interject this little thing for anybody listening or watching, that has been plagued That is a plague in our industry with the BDC, and it's directly related to the pay plan.
Yeah.
As long
Yes, I agree.
as long as the BDC agents, as long as there's a component to the sold, as they call it,
Yeah, getting paid on the sold.
it screws up. We're not in sales.
No.
I'm not going to get up out of my seat and go see Kelly when he comes in tomorrow. I'm going to be on the phone doing my 110 phone calls a day. So why are we being remunerated on the souls? It conflicts the entire thing. But again,
It's the wrong mindset. I agree with you.
creates completely the wrong mindset, and it takes it completely into a different direction.
It's
And
tough
a BDC
to adapt, though, Shawn. After being in the car business for 17 years, I had that mindset. I was like, "Give me a," you know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, but
know.
I mean, since we did it, it evolved. I mean, back in our days, Reid, it was kind of like the movie Boiler Room. You know, if we're gonna call it something, it was just we were up on our chairs, yelling and screaming, and you know, we had all this flexibility. And then, unfortunately, what happened is those people at the time that were at our level became, you know, GSMs and are running the BDCs the same way as before, but they've just never evolved. And the last reason why a BDC would fail, and again, we're not angels when they're poorly managed. I mean, I see it time and time again. But again, that comes with coaching, which is why Reid exists and which is why I exist. Because at the end of the day, on our last day here on earth, we're not taking anything with us, but we can leave it behind. So my mission right now is just to leave everything behind and just pour back into this industry that has given me so much. Because technically, I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. So leave it behind.
They do say
Let's
it's
talk
fun to a box
culture.
theory.
Yeah, we're going to actually skip around on some of these questions, but since you brought up culture, let's talk about it. Are BDC staff treated with the same respect as showroom sales staff, and should they be?
Well, I mean, should they be? I mean, that goes
course.
without saying. Let's not even coin it a BDC. We have human beings.
Well, from a value
I'm gonna
standpoint,
stop there.
yeah.
They're human beings.
yeah.
Like, let's just stop there. Like, that's what I was just saying. Like, we're
Yeah.
always in a
But
storage
that's-
room. Oh,
yeah,
those
but-
people.
But that's not always the case.
The people that are coming in and out of that room. Oh, well, we don't know who they are, but
Yeah.
The
yeah.
others.
yeah, the others. You know, they're,
Yeah.
they're not sure. They just do stuff.
They always ask me when I come into the dealership, "Where are you going?" You know.
Or even worse, do you work here? Can I help you, sir? Like,
Yeah.
I've been
Well,
working here
that's
for
sort of the
years.
point is they should be, but oftentimes they're not.
Well, listen, and at the end of the day, listen, I am not for everybody. My style is not for everybody. Okay. And I'll let Reid speak on his style and stuff. I love Reid. I love his style. It's completely different than mine, but I have learned so much. So I just pick and choose what I can, you know, amalgamate into my system, and I leave the rest, but it works for him and my system works for me. And you know what? There's 4,000 dealers here in Canada, and I think there's a little over 13 or 14,000 in the States, right? So there's enough food for
New car
everyone.
franchise, yes.
There's enough food to go around. There's enough food for everyone. So Reid's style will work with more aggressive GSMs or dealer owners, and mine will work a little bit more with whatever flavor that they have. But at the end of the day, respect must be earned. And if you're going to get into BDC management, if you're going to get into being a director, if you're going to get into wanting to manage people and manage a business unit, I hate it when we refer to it as a call center. It's not a call center. It's a business unit. It's the hub of the organization where information comes in, and the information that's going to go out, your return on investment is going to be as good as the management of the BDC, which has nothing to do with anything external except the BDC manager. So to any BDC agent or team leader right now looking to go up, it could be a beautiful thing, but please consider what you are accepting. This is not just a higher pay to do the same work. The responsibility that you have can tarnish the name of the BDC, right? So you need to have a certain level of understanding of the framework. So just to give you a little idea before I shut up, typically speaking, if anybody right now is, you know, should I promote this person, or I'm looking for an outside person to come in and manage my BDC or what have you, I'll give you my scale. And then Reid, I would actually really love to hear what you think about this. But typically for me, and again, plus or minus, when we're talking about an agent or the BDC personnel, 0 to 3 years, you're basically a BDC agent. You're doing day-to-day activities and you're learning your craft. From 3 to 5 years, you have a little bit more experience, so you could be a team leader, not yet a manager because you're not really exposed to the impact of the reporting, but you have enough to understand the team leader and kind of lead a team, but not manage the department. Big difference. 0 to 3, 3 to 5. From 5 to 8 years, now you're looking at a BDC manager. They're kind of understanding what's going on. They could do performance reviews and they can manage. They could basically align the link between data and coaching. Okay, so the coaching comes with an emotional intelligence or whatever approach you want to use. And the data, basically your data science, where are you bringing this thing? And can we avoid the iceberg before we hit it? It's your responsibility to bring this information. And then 8+ years, you're getting into the BDC director. And that's basically, you really have to have a firm understanding, not just of the data, not just of coaching people daily, not just of the scripting, not just even being able to write your own scripts. There's so many times that I'm coaching and I'm consulting with dealer groups that have BDC managers. I'm like, okay, so, I do scripts, but I'm more into conversational pieces. But whenever I sit down and say, okay, look, let's just rewrite the script for this specific campaign, so many times, and I feel so bad, but so many times they're like, well, I never did that before. So immediately when I hear that, I'm like, well, how are you coaching your team? Because what happens is you can have a bad day, but you don't have to have a bad week. And if you have a bad week, it doesn't mean you have to have a bad month. And that comes at your ability to read the data correctly.
And Shawn, I think that you nailed that right on the head. It's so much managed by the numbers.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely. And what I like to say, sorry to cut you off, Reid, but I get so passionate.
No, go ahead.
I just
Go ahead.
Jump through my screen right now and start choking people. Okay. People should be, whether it's even at sales or from a BDC perspective, I'm the opinion of, you should be more concerned with your trajectory than of the results.
Yes.
If you focus on the inputs, your people, the system, the scripting, the coaching, etc., if you focus on the inputs, the outputs will take care of themselves.
Yeah. It's like a row team. You row the boat and the boat goes. The boat doesn't go without the row team, right?
Focus on the inputs.
Yes.
The outputs take care of themselves. The result is always a moving target. Can you imagine the anxiety and the stress you would have every single day where you were just looking at a number go up, go down, go up, go down, go down, go down, go up, go up? Focus on individual performance. Focus on the collective performance. And that's what I call the trajectory. And then whatever, let the chips fall where they may.
That's the alchemy.
That's the alchemy.
It sounds like you're talking about a baseball team, quite frankly. I mean, the analogy is substantial. It's metrics driven, but you've got you can't focus on every at bat. You've got to focus on the technique and the process and the system.
Correct. And the problem right now, and there's many problems, and again, my opinion, but pretty solid. The problem right now is our industry, and I'm not harping. I love the car industry. I mean, 21 years. It's given me everything in my family and what have you. The problem, and I hope it's changed, and I strongly believe it's changing. I'm very optimistic. But the problem with our industry is that it's a month-to-month industry. The problem with the sales floor, because I did sales for about a year. The problem with the sales, I was okay at it, but I would never go back. Because the adage of you're as good as your last sale. Well, I had a shitty last 2 days. Well, then you're shit. What? Really? Are you kidding me? It's just crazy. So, and then next month, like, look, today's the end of month. It's the 31st of March. Tomorrow's the 1st of April. So you know what? I'm the star. I had a record month. I sold, 52 cars. It's never been done before. Guess what happens tomorrow? Yeah. I go right back down to the bottom. It's like it's so short-lived. And then God forbid you have amazing month to month records, and then 3 months of so-so or average or not really good. Guess what? You're gone.
Well,
Ridiculous. So the adage of going month to month, now I understand what is required would be a massive change. However, incremental improvement is what I'm about. So before looking at this on a larger scale, I am lobbying for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. We had a shitty Q1. Okay, I understand. Let's bring what we missed into Q2, raise the targets just a little bit to compensate, and let's go to war. It doesn't mean just because we had a shitty month, hey, let's shut down the BDC. It's not working.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of drastic. Okay, fine. We won't shut it down, but we'll fire everybody and let's just hire new people. And then on top of it, your hiring process is screwed up. So we get in this perpetual kind of go nowhere business.
I've been at stores, Shawn, that have closed down, reopened, closed down, reopened, formulated to attack this target. Now it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
And that all happened in 9 months.
Right, and which is what I go back to. This is why I told you the 4 main reasons we're talking about right now. Reason number 3, when it becomes something it isn't. And the only reason, Reid, and I'm not sure if you could back me up on that, but it definitely seems like you can. From a BDC perspective, regardless of what happens out there, it needs to be defined.
Yes.
Once you define what your BDC is, then you need to plan around that definition. Once you have that plan, then you need to action that plan. And if the actions are working or the testing phase works, then you execute.
Right.
Trust the process. It's chess, not checkers. Right? So define it, plan it, action it, execute it. Trust the process, guys. We can't keep changing. Like Reid said, open, close, open, close, open, close. What message are we sending? What message are we sending?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to work in that environment.
Well, it's not just sales also. So then we have a couple more questions here, but the one that I want to touch on here is, it addresses the unsung heroes cloistered in dealership broom closets. Let's touch on the function of the service BDR. What does their day look like? And how realistic is it to set goals when the expectations exceed capabilities in many cases? And I ask that because so many customers take their service off-site, and it's just so tough to drag them in.
Wow, that's a large question. So
30-second answer.
Okay, 30-second answer.
I'm teasing. You can give me a minute.
Because I was going to actually do it somehow, but I was going to omit a lot of information.
He's the alchemist. Don't forget. He will figure out a way.
I'm building this in my head as you're talking.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I can see the figures now.
So let's talk BDC service. The interesting thing is, before I even knew that internet leads existed, because they didn't back when I started, my first 11 years was building BDC service. So I am from the fixed ops world, and then I was like, what? We're selling cars online now? That's pretty cool. So everything was service. So my first love is actually fixed ops. So I love the question. So if I understood correctly, you asked me, what does a typical day look like? Okay, well, a typical day looks like whatever the BDC manager is going to set it up to be, right? So what I would say, a typical day, there is no typical day in the BDC world. It takes a special character to be, work in a BDC, let alone a BDC agent, let alone a BDC manager. I mean, look at me and Reid. Totally not normal people, right? So it takes a very particular person to even venture off into this area, but I absolutely adore it, right? So we understand each other. So a typical day of BDR over at service, as a BDC manager hat, focus on revenue generating activities, right? I like to call it call inventory or contact inventory. There's only so many calls that you can do. There's only so many texts that you can do. So the main focus would be on revenue generating activities. Now, the second question everybody always asks me is, well, what are those activities? So then my answer is always the same thing. Well, where are you hurting? Are you hurting on hours per RO? because maybe your hours per RO are exactly where they need to be, but we're not opening up enough ROs. So that means we have a low appointment count. So if you have high, and sorry, I'm going to geek out on you guys right now. So if you have a high work order, average work order at like 1.6, 1.8, 2.4, that's the advisors doing a really, really good upselling job. If you don't have enough appointments, that's because A, the BDC is probably not convincing. The scripting is off. They're saying the wrong thing. Reid could probably kill this left and right for sure. Or B, we're calling the wrong people, right? So you want to focus on revenue generating activities. Now, which activities are most revenue generating? That's going to go. Remember how I mentioned that the second reason that a BDC fails is a friction between departments? Well, then let's just look at the opposite of that, why it would succeed. Because the communication between me and the service manager is on point. I would sit down. I don't make my targets. I don't sit there like Alice in Wonderland and go, I wonder how many appointments and hours per RO and gain time and lost time and warranty work orders, and you're factoring EHG shop supply, and then you're factoring the parts, and then that's not for me to do. What it is for me to do as a BDC manager is to go out and source the information from the people that are responsible. At the end of the day, the BDC is there to serve the department in which it is working for. So I have instilled in my BDC alchemy, sorry, shameless plug, but I have instilled in my BDC alchemy what I like to refer to as reverse engineering. Where do you guys need to be? You know, I'm an avid reader. I love reading. And the first thing where I got this idea from, like I'm not like a genius or anything, but where I got this idea from is actually from, you guys have clearly heard of Stephen Covey. He had the book, I think it's the 7 or the 8
habits of highly effective people.
Correct. And one of the most effective habits for me that just stuck, that I absolutely put in, begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Done.
That's a great one.
You begin with the end in mind. You cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created it. So if you have a problem and you're not hitting your targets and you're going after the problem like this, well, maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe you need to reverse engineer the problem. So begin with the end in mind. Where do you need to be, Mr. Service Manager, to have a successful month? Oh, I need to be at here. Great. And statistically, what are the advisors responsible for? Hypothetically, I don't know. Let's just keep this. Let's dumb it down a little bit. Mr. Service Manager, how many work orders do we need to make our month this month? Oh, well, we need 20. Fantastic. Statistically, how many work orders are the advisors opening up on their own unassisted? Well, they're opening up 5. Great. So you're telling me my BDC needs to bring in 15 to add to the 5 so we can collectively succeed together, correct? Yes. Beautiful. Let me go back into the lab. Let me do my little alchemy thing. I will present to you my strategic plan tomorrow. And if you sign off on it, let's go to war and make some money and have fun.
Yeah. Something tells me that the broader answer to that would deal with the issues of losing service clientele to independent dealers. So it makes independent body shops and repair shops. But you're saying no.
No, absolutely not. Listen, Kelly, it's very simple. And I'm just, I don't know if I'm an albatross or an outlier, like Malcolm Gladwell has said. But listen, in order to do business with us, we have to make it sexy to do business with us. Why would somebody come and buy a Toyota with Toyota trained technicians, master technicians? We have the OEM parts specifically designed for your Corolla, specifically designed for your Mercedes, but you're going to tell me you're going to go to Joe Schmo down the street? The oil is the same oil. Now, the problem where we are failing is we are failing to explain the customer journey. Why is my oil at, I don't know, XYZ company? Why is my oil $79.95 compared to the Pennzoil guy that's $29.95? We need to explain that. We need to add value behind our pricing. Just like I train my BDC agents, and I'm not sure if you do that, Reid, but when a BDC agent calls on a specific car, so a stock number, a used vehicle, if you will, when somebody calls in and says, hey, well, what's your best price? I'm not haggling over this. What is your best price? Well, sir, it's very simple. It's the one that's listed.
Yeah, you're definitely calling me because I had the second best price, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're calling me on this specific stock number at this specific price, and you're asking me what's the best price. What's the one that's listed? Where do you want to be? Well, I want to be here. Great. Now we have a starting point. Let's just.
So, Shawn, I actually train in the art of, you could call it like persuasion if you'd like, but I understand that you have your objective, but right now I have mine, and that's to save both of us a bunch of time and money, because that's what we have, and we trade it for each other, right? So before I answer that, let me ask you this. Are you calling in about our buyback event?
Yeah, I've heard that one already.
Oh, well, how familiar are you with our current market situation? Let's go ahead and build value, like you said. Let's build value in the fact that we have no cars, we're limited on supply. So and then we could find out where they're calling from, why they're calling us, boo, 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 boo.
Where they're at in the buying cycle. Do you have to buy today?
And now we're talking about no selling. We're just talking about scheduling an appointment at this point in time.
Yes, but we're also, like you said before, persuasion. And I love that, Reid Richards. This is why you're the man, bro. Persuasion. So when we cannot sell a car, we should sell the idea.
That's right. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. We talk about it, but we don't know how to effectively do it. Most people don't understand that the art of selling is switching. So the job of a salesperson doesn't take place till the customer comes to the dealership, drives the vehicle that they're interested in, and doesn't like it, or might not have something they want on it, or has something on it that they don't want on it. That's when a salesperson's job starts, not when they pick up the phone and answer it, or call the customer, or send over information through the internet.
100%.
So
it's important. Basically, the point is this.
Yeah,
I believe, because I've been following Reid for years, and we've always been parallel, but totally on the same path, if you will, if I could say it that way. But listen, at the end of the day, when you're talking about coaching and when you're talking about scripting, regardless, Reid nailed it. Persuasive, setting the seed, right? The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. You know, if I don't have the vehicle, it's for me to qualify the customer. Where are you an in-market shopper? Do you have to buy today? Let's ask the real questions. Kelly, sir, do you have to buy this car today? No, I just started my shopping process. Fantastic. How much time do we have? From here to 3 months. Fantastic. Let's just reset and let's start to re-qualify you, et cetera, et cetera. The point I'm trying to make is this. It's important to understand that a BDC should be in a constant state of evolution.
Thank you. That's what I was going with that, Shawn, was the craft. The craft has to be developed. Constantly.
Clearly. We clearly, people like Reid, people such as myself and other BDC practitioners out there, it's a constant, how can I say it? We're constantly in the unknown. You know, while everybody's doing this, we're off in our little lab, in our little alchemy, or I'm a little, you know, wherever you want to call it, but we're constantly in the unknown. So the BDC manager, as well as the team leaders, should be inspired and motivated by the guest experience. And it's this inspiration, it's this passion that will drive the need to constantly be in a state of transition. And a lot of the times with my people, it's very much about disrupting their current belief system.
Yes.
Constantly striving forward. What got us here will not get us there. Guys, we need to evolve with the times.
Well, you mentioned evolve a few times, so let's kind of go there because technology evolves, and clearly dealerships are insinuating technology into the whole BDC game. So my question to you guys, and this is a jump ball question, is how important is automation, and when is automation too automated?
Reid, go ahead. You're Mr. Auto Man for sure.
You know, I believe that if there's a way that I can effectively do 3 people's jobs with 1 person, I'm going to take advantage of it. So I don't believe that, you know, That's the unfortunate part, and that's where I fight as much as possible to help salespeople master their craft, not lose their job to a kiosk. Because the kiosk will ask every time, would you like to have your vehicle professionally appraised? Where the service advisor won't, or the BDR, the service BDR won't, a machine will. So as far as automation goes, I believe that it can effectively produce better results. With unfortunately, that's where the gap is, and that's why the technology has developed into the fashion of where we're going with technology being like Tesla, being direct sell to the customer and eliminating the franchise style. The customer has fought back for years that doesn't work for them. So when CarMax came out with half the stores that AutoNation has, they sell double the amount of used cars because they're not trying to sell anybody anything. They're trying to buy everybody's cars from them on a no-sell approach. And it works. And so I think the mindset of selling somebody that goes to the grocery store to look at milk mentality in the car business has to end. Or we're going to push the customer into a complete autonomous situation where there is no human interaction. And yes, well, can it work effectively? Yeah. Does it work effectively now? To a degree. I prefer it to have somebody like Shawn or somebody like you, Kelly. I prefer to talk to. I want to have interpersonal communication. I love people. I don't want to deal with the machine.
Yeah. I think it's too expensive.
Yes. Do I use it?
I was just going to say it's too expensive a product to go fully automated. By the way, as an aside, or actually is directly related to what we're talking about, I bought a Subaru and I have not received any phone calls from them. It's all automated. Oh, you're due for service.
Must be the machine's day off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, day on. That's all I get. Yeah. No, you're right. The machine. That's right.
Someone forgot to turn it on. Whoops.
Right. They're just sending me messages.
Some of my jobs, Kelly, are to analyze people's technology, and lots of it these days is artificial intelligence and what message is being sent to the customer, and how the customer, when they do make the connection, how does it respond to them? I have lots of hours I need to spend doing that.
Yeah.
So, you know, your mic is off. You're on mute. BDC.
You're on mute.
Yep. Sorry.
There you go, bud.
You're not on mute anymore.
We've done that before.
So listen, if I could just add really quickly, love what Reid said. I do want to challenge it though. I wouldn't be the alchemist if I
Thank you. That's why I have you here.
Dude, I'm totally challenging you, but not in a cynical way, man. So listen.
Oh, yes.
I am, how can I say this? I am cut from the cloth that doing just enough is not enough. I don't mind automation for two things. I don't mind automation only when the circumstances require automation. Okay, I'm not gonna go and overhaul my human, my human capital just because there's the latest and greatest little toy that's gonna do triple the amount of volume. I'm into quality, not quantity. Now, a quantity with regards to, hey, I have a 3,000 list private sale that I got to call in the next 3 days. Of course, sure, let's try it out, right? The conversion rate, I'm not expecting more than 2-3% anyway. So yeah, let the machine do what it is. But there's other times where, human intervention is required. So going back to what I feel the core functionality of the BDC is, and I'll say it again for any listeners, the core purpose is to provide a consistent flow of traffic and service to the sales floor. What I left out of that is that there's 4 main things that it should do. Your BDC should allow for a consistent communication. Your BDC should improve the communication. The BDC should improve the CSI. And ultimately, the BDC agent people should drive retention. So I am absolutely for automation when one or all of these indicators are failing. If they're not failing, well, then leave it alone. use the machine for something else. However, but just to support what Reid said, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'm a data-driven individual. If we implement technologies, number one, we are responsible for that technology. So we can't improve what we don't measure. So if I'm putting in a machine to do X amount of calls or whatever the hell this machine wants to do, if I see that my customers, the customer experience as a result of whatever the activity is going up, well, then let's do that. Absolutely. But if we see that, there's a dip ever since, I don't know, Siri started doing my calls, well, then let's stop Siri. So, but this comes down to, again, like I said, managers. That 5 to 8 year mark, the 8+ year mark that I was referring to before, they should be able to capture that within 2 days, not even a month, within 2 days, because at the end of the day, Simon Sinek said it best. Managers do things right, leaders do the right things.
I think we should call it quits on that note.
Okay, deal.
Yeah. I want to say thank you.
Dude, I was
Yes.
just warmed up.
Shawn
Let's
Moore.
go, baby. Let's go, Reid. I was just getting warmed up.
I know you're all sweating.
Yeah,
Hey,
I got
we need
another
to
2
have
hours.
more.
I got
Yeah.
another 2 hours.
I
Yeah.
have one more, but we'll wait on that till next time. But again, I want to thank you for joining us from the Great White North, and of course, Mr. Fantastic Car Motivator Zone, Reid Richards, guys.
Double
My
R.
colleague and my co-host and our guest. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Reid, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
And now we
appreciate
just
it,
kind of
Shawn.
shoot the shit for a few seconds, and I play
Yeah,
some
I got a good 5 minutes anyway.
I like the hat.
1970s highlight music, and then
Are those
Transition.
glasses real?
yeah, they're real.
Mine?
Like, yeah. Do you
Oh,
need
his?
those
Of
glasses?
course, bro. What do you mean?
Even if they're not, they're
I'm
at
not
least
that
blue
guy.
blockers, right?
Hey, if we ever play poker, I want you to wear those. Okay.
Are you insane? I don't play poker. I am terrible.
Have you ever played Poker Face?
I played poker maybe twice in my life. I get like a full house. I'm like, yeah. And everybody's like,
When COVID hit, I retired to become a professional poker player. I have over 30,000 hands since COVID started.
Jesus.
Did you know a professional player plays 20,000 hands a month?
No.
That's
here's
their
the-
job.
So before I took this job, I actually was supposed to I was going to run the marketing for Larry Flint's Hustler Casinos.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to be. I'm
5
pretty
interviews.
good.
5 interviews.
Hold on, Kelly. Let's just stop this right now.
Alchemist.
You're trying to tell me right now that instead of working at Hustler, you
Yeah,
decided
right.
to work with Reid Richards.
Well, he's a colleague. We work for the same guy. No, this is
Sean Kelly is who he.
Yeah.
specifically-
Oh,
No,
car
so I didn't
motivators?
get.
Okay.
The weird thing is I didn't get it because like Larry Flint's widower. I mean, I really don't know why. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it would have been an 1.5-hour drive every day, 6 in the morning.
Okay,
The hours were sick, but I got through everybody basically. I'm really surprised that I didn't get offered it. But I'll tell you, it was a good paying gig, but it would have not been worth the hours. It wouldn't have been worth not even
Yeah,
close.
and that's what it's all about too. Like prior to starting my own gig, I was offered this big, cushy position, and I'm at a point right now in my life where, like Reid, man, I've been pounding the fucking pavement for so long, like working 80 hours, a week to just in my ascent, young and ambitious, that I want to give time back to my son now. It's about my kid and it's about quality of life.
Right. Me and Sean are on the same path.
Fuck, dude, it's about quality.